What's going on, everybody? Sean here from Afterlife Studios, and today let's go over why you should be using reference tracks. Reference tracks are a big deal. It's crazy how much a reference track can improve the quality of your mixes because they're the great balancer between monitors and rooms, and it makes sure that the track that you're mixing is going to stack up compared to commercially released tracks. Now, this is going to save you a ton of time on your mixes because you're not having to second guess if the move that you made was the right one for the track. You can reference that track that's in the DAW with it, and you say, oh, the kick drum's in the right spot, my kick drum's in the right spot. My snare's in the right spot, that snare's in the right spot. My vocals are sitting the same way as those vocals are sitting. A couple things when you're choosing a reference track. You want to pick a track that's in the same genre as the track that you're mixing. You want to pick a track that sounds similar. So it doesn't have to be exact, right? We're just using it as a tester to make sure that where we're placing things and how we're spacing them out is going to match to that commercially released track. So when I'm mixing, I'm always using a reference track, even though I have a sound treated room and I have nice speakers, to make sure that my placement of my instruments, that my vocals are sitting the right way, that the reverbs are going the right way. It's a good way to make sure that what you're doing is actually improving the audio. The crazy thing is once you start using a reference track, it's very difficult to go back to just mixing by ear without having that point of reference. It's a big deal, and it will help improve your mixes. Now, if you're digging my content, do me the biggest favor, hit the subscribe button down below, hit the notification bell. That way you're being informed anytime I release new content and you're not missing out on anything. I'm going to show you how to set up a reference track and how to utilize them to improve your mixes. Alrighty guys, so what I've done is I've downloaded a bunch of stems from a royalty-free website. That way I don't get copyrighted. But basically, those stems come with a reference track. So I'm going to utilize that. Normally with these, I would recommend doing a reference track of a different song. But to keep things from getting copyrighted and that kind of stuff, I just use the same track. So let's go ahead and pull up the DAW screen. And I've already organized them out because there was a lot of stuff going on with these. So I just went and organized it and made sure that everything was where it should be. And then I imported the MP3 at the bottom. Now, typically, if you can, use a WAV file. It's lossless, so you'll have a lot better results. But for these demonstration purposes, we're going to go ahead and use a MP3 of the song. So let me go ahead and remove my face cam. Alrighty, so here we have drums, we have some guitars, we have a bass, we have some lead guitars, we have some synths, we have a piano, and we have vocals. So I'm going to play the track. It's unmixed, untouched. It's completely as it came from the pack. Okay, so the actual tracks are really well recorded, but now what we're going to do is we're going to bring in this reference track down here, and I'm going to show you how to get it to be able to be matched to the levels. So these reference tracks, they're typically going to be mastered, so pretty loud, but typically what I usually do is I'm going to bring it down about 10 decibels, so it should be able to match pretty closely at 10. We might have to adjust it. But I'm going to bring it down 10 decibels and see where the master sounds. Okay, so I brought it down 10 decibels. Let's listen to the volume of it. Okay, so what I was doing there was listening back and forth to see what the volume difference is. It's a little bit quieter than what I got going on, so I'm going to bring it up a little bit, and we're going to test it again to make sure that the volume of the reference is the same as the actual tracks themselves. So that way we can compare and contrast what the differences are between a commercially mixed one and what we're doing right now. So let's go back and listen to it one more time. Okay, so now they're pretty close to the same levels. So now what we can do is we can go back in and start placing elements of this mix to the same volume as the reference track. So that way we know that, yes, our kick drum, so let's start with just the kick. We'll solo the kick drum. It's not mixed, obviously, so it's not going to be quite as loud, but it lets us place stuff the way it should be before we even start mixing it, which is just a huge benefit to figuring out where things need to be placed. So let's go ahead and listen again. Okay, so there we got the kick to sit about the same volume. Now their kick drum has EQ and compression and stuff like that on it, but volume-wise, it's now the same. And then you'd be able to EQ and compress from there. So instead of guessing where that kick drum should be, now we have a reference that says, hey, the kick drum should be right here. So I'm going to do another example with the snare drum so we can see where that snare drum should sit as well. We'll leave the kick drum on also. Okay, so the snare drum had to go up as well. And then basically what you would do is go through every track before mixing them or anything like that. And essentially what you're going to do is just volume match them to the reference track. Now this also applies to doing EQ and compression as well. So we can hear the kick in the reference track. So we'll go ahead and solo out the kick track itself and then listen to the reference. And what we're going to do is try to match that kick to the reference track. So when I was listening back and forth, I heard that my kick drum on the mix track was missing attack. It had a lot of hollowness to it, and it was missing low end from the reference track. So what I did is listen back and forth, matching the EQ to the reference track, and got it to sound extremely close to that by listening to that reference track. And now I feel comfortable that my kick drum is EQ'd similarly to a commercially mixed reference track, and then I would be able to move on from there. So this is going to make sure that our tracks are viable no matter what speakers you're on. If you're on headphones, using a reference track is a huge benefit to people that are new, people that have been mixing for a while, that are mixing different genres, that are in new rooms that you're not used to. The craziest thing is your ears will lie to you, and this gives us the way to basically do checks and balances to make sure that what we're doing is affecting the audio in a way that's going to be beneficial. Now, hopefully this video inspires you to use reference tracks on all of your mixes. It's the great equalizer. It really is a game changer on how your mixes will sound at the end. It takes away some of the problems with not knowing the knowledge on how to get it to sound that way. It takes out the room, it takes out the headphones, it takes out the soundproofing, and all you're doing is matching how it sounds. You don't have to match it like artistically, but just where things are placed, how things are EQ'd. And if you don't have the knowledge on how to do those things, you can figure it out based off of where it sits in that mix versus your own mix. And it gives you a step up dramatically on how to get your sound to improve in your mixes. Now, if you watch the video to the end, do me the biggest favor, hit that subscribe button down below, hit the notification bell. If this is something you think is worth sharing, do me that favor, share this video. And as always, stay humble, stay hungry, something else inspirational. Peace out.